Back from the break. We are still having 3 tables of 180 men's running. And good luck for Marcus White to ship the $3.5 rebuy. And we are going to concentrate, and I think we are quite lucky that we are now having the largest stack on the biggest game we are running, so we are hoping for some one-times as well. And to add to Rigsy's question earlier on that if this is still a good game, I think MTTs are going to be the games that are going to die the last. They are, even right now, they are the game that you are having the largest edge compared to the rake you are playing. And this was actually a mistake to shove here. It would have been better to min raise, because if I'm min raising, it's going to be more likely that our opponents behind us will misread our stack size. And wow, call with King 8 suited. That's something unexpected. I don't think the call was good, but no complaints. If players are making those kind of calls, it's going to make us money in the long run. And yes, Marcus White says that it's going to be a better game to play as a non-all-in in that situation. It's like, it's not bad to shove in itself. It's going to be profitable for sure, but it's just better to hide out your stack size a bit. It's something that I have noticed myself when I have been multi-tabling, that I sometimes miss the stack sizes when opponents are making a non-all in a spot that they shouldn't have. And Rixie asked, how did you make the table jump to upper row? I'm using Table Ninja for it. So I'm having different slots, and you can use the free software placement to do the same, that when you are clicking a single hotkey, you can get the table that's active. You can move it. It's a bit more involved than when you are using Table Ninja, but it's doable with the free software as well. And you can do anything pretty much with. And in here, if Preggy is going to fold, we are going to call, because we are only requiring about 20% equity in here. I think that we can get 20% of equity in here. Now it's in the 50-cent game. It's going to be the question of how do I get the most money in. And in here we are trying to lure some more money from golds in still. And Rixie says that you are a Mac user. I could be cruel in that situation and say that you can buy some real tools later on. But nope. I think even when you are a Mac user, it's just going to limit your choices a lot. And those are like, there are certain restrictions in the operating system that are making it more safe to use than Windows, but those same restrictions are making it really hard for some of those additional poker tools to work. So, like, my recommendation for Mac users would be to install Boot Camp and install Windows and play your games or play your poker games in Windows. And if you happen to have the new Retina MacBooks, then you'll need to install Windows 8.1 pretty much, because I think that all the rest of the Windowses will be having problems with the high resolution screen. I think even that placement is probably not available for Mac, so that's going to be problematic. And right now we are focusing on what we are min raising, what we are shoving in this $15 game that we are having about 20 big blinds with some of the opponents on our left. So there will be some decisions when we are thinking a lot on what should we shove and what should we min raise and what not. And in this other game that we are having about 10 big blinds, but we are having only about 5 big blinds against most of these guys on our left, we are just going to think what we are going to shove. And when someone opens, we are going to go for a shove. And if you are thinking about the non-all-in sizings, I would prefer doing a min bet here pretty much always, because if you are sizing your non-all-in with any other sizing than min raise, it's going to be easier for your opponents to see that something is wrong in the hand. And you are going to probably get less folds. Of course, with kings you are wanting to have less folds, but I'm thinking that it's going to be, or it would be best for him to shove the kings anyway. And kill for fun, yeah, it's 27 paid. So we are nearing the money, but the money doesn't affect our decisions at all right now. Basically, we are still playing only to gain more chips. And we are trying to do our best to gain more chips. Because if these guys are going to be so short, it doesn't make any sense for us to play the 6-4 off. Can you show the payout structure? Of course. The payout structure, as always in the MTTs, it's going to be really top heavy. Like, we can see that the first place finisher will get about 50 buy-ins. Second place finisher will get about 33 buy-ins. And from the 5th place finisher onwards, you are getting less than 10 buy-ins. And from 19th to 27th, we are just about getting our buy-in back, so. And the tournament has a new blind structure. That's interesting. So in these games, it's practically that if you are not getting top three finishes, you are basically losing money. If you are doing like, if you are playing, let's say, 500 games and you have not gotten a single top 3 position, it pretty much doesn't matter what your other positions have been. But I can pretty much tell you that you have been losing money in that game. Or during that period of time. And it's going to be the same in the 50 cent games. It's just going to be a lot nicer to see the price structure in the $15 games, as there seems to be more to play on. But as you can see that in these games, the rake is pretty much the same from 50 cent games to $15 games, so the rake is pretty equal in the lowest stakes and at the higher. Rig C, we are having some lag here, so, and I'm a man, so usually I can't repeat what I just said because I don't remember it anymore. I'm having like a the 3-second working memory, and after the 3 second is gone, then the thought is gone. You can't bring it back. And Callion says that 2 cents profit with min cash. If we are profiting it, I must say a pun that contains, but that's just my 2 cents. And Neo, wow, if it's so top heavy, does bubble factor only matter on the final table? It matters when we are closing to the money as well, because there will be situations that it's going to be, sometimes it's going to be huge that if you are getting 29th or 27th, especially if you are having a really small stack. $15 big blinds deep with the worst case scenario, but on average we are a lot less deep than 15 big blinds. I think this is going to be a profitable shove no matter what, but I'm not going for a min raise call here because I think that I'm going to get more folds this way. And we are having like the worst, not worst matchup against kings, because it wasn't the largest stack that had the kings, but it was still a sizable stack that had those kings, and now we aren't at that good of a situation in the 180 man. And when it's so top heavy, it means that you are usually playing for chips or pretty close to just playing for chips. Do we have anyone we know at this game? We are having plenty of players that we know in this game. Rixie, that was something about 500 games and no third place finishes. That you are, in these games, if you are not getting those top 3 finishes, you are not winning money in these games. And if you are not, like the top 3 finishes, so much of the prize pool is in there. Like, if you are thinking about the prize pool, that there is about, let's say there is about 150 buy-ins as, actually a bit more, 165 buy-ins. There are about 165 buy-ins in the prize pool. About 50 buy-ins of those is getting the first place finisher, so we are left with 100. And about half of the total prize pool is divided to the top 2 places. Like the top 2 places are taking home more than 80 buy-ins out of those about 165 buy-ins. And even the third place finisher gets home something around 20 buy-ins, so from 4th to 27th place they are dividing themselves something like 60 buy-ins, and you require a completely insane in the money that you are making money if you are having only 4th place finishes or. And Kill for Fun, was the 500 an arbitrary number or statistically significant? That 500, it's going to be an arbitrary number, but it's going to be statistically significant in the regards that it's going to be quite likely that you are going 500 games without not a single top 3 finish, and that can happen. And if you are playing more of these games, it will happen. So that was an example only to highlight the top heaviness of the structure. And Vlor, how many games do I need to play to get some idea where I stand in these games? I think if you are looking at how much you are winning chips and how much you are winning EV big blinds, at certain stages of the game. Like how many EV chips you are winning per game, that's going to be the... And with 7-6 suited, this is going to be pretty much, this is going to be a shove. But played as a min raise to get some additional folding equity, especially against this guy on the big blind. But if you are just looking at your results, it's going to take at least 10,000 games. It's going to take at least 10,000 games, and as an example, on 5,000 games, there are players that are playing these long term with 25 to 30% ROIs, and there are players that have been playing. And that's like long term means somewhere around 100,000 or close to 100,000 games. And those same players have been breaking even or losing slightly on a 5,000 game sample. So it's going to be like you are getting an idea of your ROI after 10,000 games. But you can get some idea where you stand in the games if you are looking at other measures than just wins. And Neo asked, what are people doing wrong who don't get enough of those place finishes or those top 3 finishes? I think generally people are playing that people that are not getting the top finishes, if they are getting in the money often enough, they are most likely they are being too careful around the bubble and after the bubble and trying to ladder up the prize pool more than they are focusing on accumulating chips still. Because accumulating chips even when we are close to the money and in the money is going to be... And in here, for example, we are now 27th out of 31, so we could fold into the money. But we don't want to fold into the money. We want to have a chance to get the big money. I thought that he had ace-3, but luckily we got the king on the river. And with 5-4 off, unfortunately, we can't shove. So in these games it's going to be like a light version of sit and goes with the ICM planning that in the sit and goes it's going to be much more important if you are playing like 9 max turbo sit and go. It's going to be much more important to just think about when you are going for it and when you are getting in the money. And in these games it's going to be more that you are not making a huge mistake if you are before final table, if you are just going for it. And Aussie Grinder, good morning from Australia. Good morning. I don't think that we have ever had someone visiting our live session from Australia, and I think that's because of time differences. So is it going to be Sunday morning or Monday morning in there? If I'd have to guess, I'd say that it's going to be Sunday morning in Australia, but I'm not sure. So in these games we are not playing that much for survival, we are playing mostly to accumulate chips. And if there are players that are not getting those top 3 finishes, but they are not getting in the money, more than, let's say, 18% of the time. I think most of those guys are making the fails at the early or mid stages of the game where they are not just accumulating enough chips. So I think most of those guys would have either somewhere around 1 to 2 big blinds per 100 hands that they are winning or less. And Aussie Grinder says it's 6:20 Monday morning. That was a surprise. And actually, I must tip my imaginary hat to you that you are watching a poker stream at 6 o'clock in the morning. Something to do before getting to work. And now we are actually in the money in both of these tournaments, and we are still not happy about it. Because even when we are in the money, we would like to be at the top or near the top. And like right now when we are at 20, like in here you can see that we are having like some imaginary bubbles. And it's going to be a bit of a different concept, but it's going to be that when we are having all of the players from 27th to 10th place getting about the same amount of prize money, we can pretty much discount the bubble play right now because it's not really a bubble anymore. It's going to be that we are going to get about the same amount of money if we are dropping out now or if we are dropping out at 10th place. So we should be taking more risks. And Aussie Grinder, thanks for your kind words. Words, and that's good that the videos are useful. I think that they are easier to access from Australia. Because our coachings are pretty early in the morning. But if you are doing a night shift, well, then it's a bit of a different time. And welcome to the forum and welcome to the site. In the 50 cent game, we are quite screwed with our King 9. And we are flipping with our Ace Queen against pocket 5s. And that pretty much ends the session for today. We didn't get any big monies, but we did have some interesting discussions on 180 players, 80 player games, and what these games are going to be all about. And if you have any wishes for the next week, please use the feedback thread on the forums. And unfortunately, we forget to mark any hands to look through at the later stages or after the session. So that was a mistake on my part. But probably next week we are marking some hands. Marking some hands down. And when you are interested about sit and go content, Caleon is holding public coaching on 20th of this month, so in 2 days. And there's an option to make it the public-private coaching if you act fast. So if you are English speaker or Finnish speaker and want to have a public-private coaching, ship a private message to Caleon as soon as possible. The price is pretty accessible, and he's a Supernova Elite, and he's a good player and well worth the money. So. And there are some good questions on Rick. And you have a 14% ITM and 5% final table. Am I in the right direction? I don't know, and it depends on how many games have you played. But an average player in these games would have a 15% in the money. And I think a winning player in these games will pretty much always have more than 15% in the money. And on the final table, it's going to be good that you are having more final tables than your in the money divided by 3, because then it means that you are not just going to ladder up the positions. But for example, if you are thinking about something like a 9-player game, I think that you might have, like, when you are looking at just one finish position, you are having plenty of variance, and you need to have something like 1,000 to 2,000 games to get a good idea what your finish distribution looks like. In 180 men's, it's going to take around the same time to just know that your finish distribution is around the right places when you are thinking about the last 3 tables. Because there's going to be plenty of variance. Like, if you are just thinking about on what table you are finishing, there are 20 different options in 180 men's. And as we didn't mark any hands, and there was Rix's question that I answered, then it's going to be time for goodbyes today. If you are going to sleep, have a good night. Or if you are in Australia and you are going to sleep, have a good day's sleep. And if you are still playing some poker, may this be a winning night for you. Bye!